Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. So I haven't done a video in a while, mainly because nothing has happened for BTC. If you are an altcoin maximalist, congratulations. You can celebrate once every 6 years, and now is that time. It has come. If we look at the chart that I'm really the most concerned with right now, it's this possibility for this bearish move on BTC through the cloud, which I refer to as an edge-to-edge trade. And as soon as we break 9K, that's really going to be the trigger, if it happens, for a move potentially to 7-1. Now, all this down here is not saying up or down. It's saying if we break 9K, we're going to go to 7-1. If we break 9.5, we'll probably get a bullish TK recross above cloud. That's your go long and hold signal. Probably to 13, honestly. Really depends on what happens at 10, but if we can break 5 digits, I think 13 will be easy by end of year. Definitely 11, whatever these local highs are, a little bit above that. But in the near term, it's like, what do? You can stack your decision tree chips in the bull or bear camp on just about every other chart you look at. Not even to mention the coronavirus stuff and legacy markets just going insanity right now. So there's really no confluent trade where I personally feel confident in making massive size right now. So there's this case, which is either bull or bear. It's definitely wait and see. But seeing this gives me pause for going long, okay? So if I want to go long again, I'm waiting for this bullish TK recross. Otherwise, I'm just waiting for a short entry once we break through the cloud. And we can look at that same version of that chart in a few different ways. We can look at Heikin-Ashi candlesticks on the weekly. Typically, we get 3 green Heikin-Ashi candlesticks, which are slightly different than traditional candlesticks. But typically, we get 3 green candles to signify a trend shift. You can see it didn't work here, it didn't work here, it didn't work here, it didn't work here, So you can find backtesting that shows that this is garbage. That's fine. I don't care. I'm looking at right now. If we get 3 green candles in a row here on Heikin-Ashi on the weekly, it should be go time again to 11.5 is what the weekly cloud is projecting. But just like the daily cloud, if we break this 9K level, there's really nothing down here until 7-1, which is the Tenkan. And you'll notice the TK lines don't make any logical sense here. You virtually never, ever see this setup where weekly price is above the Kijun and you get this C-clamp in the opposite direction. So to me, it just says we are so volatile so quickly that the cloud hasn't caught up with everything yet. And going into 2021, we should have a bullish cloud, bullish everything, buy and hold till the end of time. But in the meantime, in the near term, it's a little bit up in the air as far as where we're headed. But the argument could be made for the bullish edge-to-edge, just like the bearish edge-to-edge. The other part of the edge-to-edge trades is you want the TK cross to be confluent with the direction. So this is a bearish TK cross, and this is a bullish move. So this shouldn't move up until we have a bullish TK cross. But you can see here we already have the bearish TK cross, which is why as soon as this crosses the cloud, it should be go time. The other thing that's in the back of my head for the past several months is this chart, where if we do go to 7-1, then we bounce back to 10K, and then we go 14, 16, something, I don't know, into the end of the year. So that avenue would delay the bullish inevitability for a few months, but if we have the bounce like we should have based on VPVR and complete this gross-looking inverted head and shoulders pattern, I expect to break easily above 10K going into late, Q4 this year. One thing about Q3 for BTC is it's generally flat. There's generally nothing from start to finish that's remarkable. So this may, go to 7-1 and back to where we are all within the quarter and be ready for bull time in Q4. If we look at the consolidation just in the near term, you can look at this and look at this and look at this and say, is it a head and shoulders? Is it some sort of pattern? Is it a rounded top? Is it a diamond top? Is it anything at all on any time frame? It kind of reminds me of this triangle here. It broke down, but to me, these triangles have a 50-50 equilateral coin flip. There's no bias here. The real tell is this volume that's gone straight to zero as we've consolidated. flat sideways. So there's all these levels on the way down for VPVR. So if we do drop, you know, it's hard to think we'll go to 7-1 in a day. I really don't think that's the case. I think it's going to take some dripping and drooping to get there. You know, there's the 200, there's the yearly pivot, there's all these VPVR levels. So that's another consideration for any short entries. But if we go the opposite direction, you know, the pivots would say it's 14, it's 13, it's whatever this is here. I think it's 13.5 or something. But that's the next leg up. 10K is going to be a breeze based on this. And if we look at just how tight we are consolidation-wise, historically, it's only ever happened a handful of times. This is the B-bands, B-band width specifically. And how B-bands work is they get tight when we consolidate, and they expand after the move happens. As we consolidate, if we're above or below the 20 SMA, you get a bullish or bearish bias. So if we're above the 20 SMA when we're consolidating, it's predicting a bullish move. If we're below, it's predicting a bearish move. If we have multiple weeks above or below, that's usually the best indication of the future move. So if we get 2 weeks above the 20 SMA and we get tighter and tighter, typically we explode above it, explode out, expand the B-bands to the upside. You can see the one time that didn't really happen was here. We were kind of below, and then broke up anyway. Even here, we kind of went back and forth. So, you know, this isn't a clean slam dunk signal, but if I'm looking for stuff as we're sideways, B-bands 100% is where you go to as far as what to look for. And right now, as we sit, bullish. Flipping to ETHUSD, you know, to me, this doesn't look like a cup and handle. Maybe it is. I don't know. You know, who's to say whether or not this is a giant inverted head and shoulders or a cup and handle? Where's Bulkowski when you need him? He'd probably say it's neither, but this is crypto and things are weird. So, you know, this could very well just be a giant cup and handle too, and that would propel us higher. That's a bullish continuation pattern. Doesn't really make sense on where it sits. It doesn't really, you don't really see cup and handles at the bottom of a, you know, as a reversal. It's weird, like the way it sits. So that's one knock against it. But, you know, volume profile's there, the pattern's loose. Same thing with ETH, you know, where it sits as a pattern, you don't typically see cup and handle bullish continuation like at the bottom of a range, right? But the volume and the arguably V-shaped cup and handle thing we have here looks convincing that if this breaks 250, it should go to 335, it should go to 388 even, you know, back testing the top of these ranges easily. 250, definitely the massive psychological level here. And the odd thing is, if you look at the on-chain stats for ETH, even BTC, week over week, they are skyrocketing. So there's some divergence there, bullish divergence in my mind, because typically on-chain data, especially active addresses, is very leading for price. You'll see active addresses continue to rise and price do nothing, and say to yourself, you know, are people actually buying this? Or are they, what are they doing, right? Nothing's more bullish for a chain than on-chain activity. So as bearish as I want to be on this, I look at the on-chain activity, I look at ETH, I look at all the nonsense going on with DeFi, and it's like, how can I be bearish, right? But that's what I want to be if we break 9K. So if anything, ETH might pull up BTC kicking and screaming past 10K. You know, if this goes to 330, 388, BTC is going to follow. Maybe not as strong, but it's going to follow. And obviously the volume is definitely something to watch for here. You know, we're above all this volume resistance in this year-long range plus almost 2 years. Is that right? 2018, I guess so. We've kind of been in this range on ETH for 2 years. So there's this chart to think about, right? And there's the ETH 2.0 phase 0 fundamental garbage that is or is not coming this year. That'll involve staking and beacon chains and all sorts of nonsense. That'll lead to FOMO. It'll lead to exchanges making announcements about ETH and adding staking for ETH and all this other stuff. So all that should be bullish, sadly, for price. That's something to watch for. Now, if we flip to the ETH weekly, ETHUSD weekly cloud chart, similar rationale, again, back to this edge-to-edge idea. This is a slam dunk for 450 to 810, 850, whatever this is on Kraken Cloud. I don't care, but you see this and you say, okay, how can I get long? Where should I get long? You don't see the congruent, confluent TK cross here. You can see it's still a bearish TK cross. So just like the BTC weekly, price is kind of leading above everything. Downside support's at 209, 190, 188, whatever that is. So, you know, if we really want to wash people out, we'd go to 188 and then go to 450 anyway. But by 2021, if we're not above 300, I'm just going to throw the cloud away, because what are we even doing here? If the cloud doesn't work and takes us to 300 plus, you know, this setup specifically is incredibly bullish. It's a gigantic trend shift. You know, I don't know what it says going into 2021, past 2021, but throughout this year, this has 6 months to move up to 450, basically, is how I would read this. And again, Heikin-Ashi, you had 3 red candles, you have 2 green ones again. So, you know, if you get a third, you can say with some degree of confidence that, hey, this is probably a convincing enough trend in the near term that it's going to go somewhere. And looking at ETH BTC, it's broken above everything. This is the 2-day chart. Alt people never show you the high time frames because they always look like trash. Not this time frame, not this pair. This looks amazing. It looks like it's ready to bust up to the next yearly pivot, right? 3.5, 0.35, back to this range. Just looks like no brainer. And the 2-day 5200, so the 100, 400 on the daily are going to cross bullish. It's exiting this consolidation. It's got this W. It's supported on this Adam and Eve. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. It's got plenty of room on the RSI. This is probably the most easily bullish chart amongst anything that I've looked at lately, based on price breaking above the 200 on the 2-day, breaking above the yearly pivot, breaking above this yearly resistance range, yearly, like lifetime, really, you know, all-time high, broke it, support, 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 death, back to jail, and now it's boom, back above that support resistance level. And just closing out, just a few random stuff to talk about. So VIX continues to decline. VIX is a volatility index for legacy. We're still pretty correlated with, okay, so I guess BTC is not correlated with NASDAQ, but BTC and ETH are correlated with SPX. BTC is not correlated with NASDAQ, which makes sense because BTC has just been sideways and NASDAQ's been mooning. ETH and NASDAQ are more correlated. ETH has moved up a little bit more than BTC. Obviously, you know, if you look at the ETH BTC chart, duh, right? So if ETH is moving up with NASDAQ, BTC isn't. You know, we're still pretty correlated overall. If VIX does what VIX wants to do and goes back to 0, trends downward, breaks 30 convincingly this week, next week, if we get a coronavirus vaccine, which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon, but you know, news like that will bring the VIX down. News like coronavirus cases reaching an all-time high in several states probably won't bring the VIX down. So this goes back to the beginning of the video. I was like, I don't know, we're bullish, we're bearish, we got all these different things coming. CME contracts don't expire. The current February to July contract doesn't expire till the end of this month. So we may just go sideways into the end of the month and a few days before July, make a decision. That would be extremely painful for BTC. Really what I see happening at this point, especially with alts mooning, is alt moon rotation is going to happen into ETH. ETH is going to move up, and then it's going to bring BTC up with it kicking and screaming. That'd be my best guess. Tether is fine. It's above $1 slightly. Bitfinex has another case with the New York AG, your ongoing case. So Bitfinex and Tether may just disappear at a moment's notice, right? And that's not going to be bullish, but hey, that's where we are. Bitcoin dominance has strongly dipped below the 200 EMA into altcoin season land, right? Which if you're not living under a rock, you realize that. And you can see it's down almost at multi-month, I guess multi-month lows to 63%. So alts are alting right now, boys and girls. This is the 1 year MA actually times 5 as a oscillator. So the 1 year MA tells you where to buy, and then 5 times that it'll tell you where to sell. And for Link USD, it's pointing to 11, and this will keep moving up. And I've backtested this new addition to my tool belt on several pairs, several coins, several stocks. Look at Nvidia, look at Microsoft, look at Tesla. It's a pretty solid indicator. So I wrote about this a few months ago, talking about, you know, this range for price on Link. So 11 sounds insane, but where we're at right now in the market with alts, it looks like a very real possibility. This is Link BTC, just absolute mad lad above the 200 here, and This is the most perfect pitchfork you'll ever see. So right now it's saying we are pretty overbought for Link BTC. You can see it pierced the R4. It's in the danger zone of being massively overbought here on the pitchfork. So I wouldn't be surprised if it cools off a little bit before it continues its inevitable ascent to infinity. But where it sits right now, it looks a little overbought, which is all the more reason why BTC might start moving. I don't know. Maybe people start rotating out of this and into BTC. We look at XLM, that's moved up above its ranges. This is XLM USD. It's moved up above its ranges. Cloud was telling you it was bullish for a few months now. It's above the yearly pivot. I'd expect at least 0125, whatever this is, previous range. Very similar type of chart to ETH BTC. Just multi-year downtrend being reversed right now. This is the 2-day chart, 2-day cloud. And lastly, Doge. Now, if there was anybody talking about Doge for more weeks than I was, please tell me, because I must have talked about Doge I bought it on April 26th. So I've been talking about Doge for a while. It's no secret. If you've watched any of these videos, flash chart, always Doge. Some people laugh. Well, here we are. The TikTok Zoomers or whoever has decided to buy a bunch of Doge and it's broken the range. I'm still holding everything I bought April 26th, which was like 2K worth of Doge, USD, for 100. We might not get there. It might not get to 70. It might not get to 50 again. But the reason I'm holding is because if this is the real deal, these rises in Doge are typically multi-week rises. It doesn't just happen in 1 week and then it's over. Barring, there were obviously times on this chart when that was the case, but it's really never been at historic lows and only moved up in a week. So that's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, hit me up on Twitter, and happy trading.